Hello, everybody. I have a story for you. There I was at 16 years old, about to get my driver's license. And I was super nervous because even though I had aced the written test, getting out on the road made me a little nervous. And what really made me nervous was this parallel parking. Okay, parallel parking I knew was difficult. Everyone told me it was difficult. And so I had this brilliant idea. I asked my mother to drive me down to the DMV on a Saturday morning when nobody was there, and I was going to figure out where they were going to have me parallel park, and I was going to practice. And sure enough, we got down there, and there were two cones. There was no other cars there, and I knew this must be the spot where they're going to have me parallel park. Let me practice. And I practiced Saturday, and I practiced Sunday morning, and I came back the next week, and I practiced again, and I practiced every weekend I could. And boy, by golly, I was going to do this right. Did I mention that I had a honkin' big blue station wagon, and it was so hard to get it between those cones and so hard to figure out how to parallel park. But finally I felt confident enough, and I went down to the DMV on a weekday. Everyone's there, and get in the car with the proctor, and I parallel parked like a boss. I was so amazing. And the proctor says, "Wow, I have never seen a 16-year-old parallel park with such confidence before. Let's take her out on the road." And so I pulled out of the DMV, and immediately I froze up when I went to make a left-hand turn. I just did not know what to do. I hadn't practiced left-hand turns. I'd only practiced parallel parking. So the proctor says to me, "Okay, I'm not going to give you your license today. Come back in a week, practice some more, come back when you're ready, and we'll do it again." So my question to you is, do I have 80% of a driver's license now? Does my driver's license say failure on it? Does it look different? If I hadn't told you this story, you would have no idea that I failed the first time I took my driver's license. I'm Madame Sensei. I teach Spanish, French, Japanese, English language arts, and over the summer I kick around because I teach health. So obviously I like what I'm doing. I can't get away from school. If you want to talk to me about anything that I do on this YouTube site, meet me in the Minecraft Teachers Lounge or the Minecraft Education Ambassadors, Roxem, Duolingo Educators Network, Teacher Excellence Lounge or the World Language Teacher Lounge, Quizzes Game Changers and AI Certified Instructors, and because it's coming up, I just want to mention Practical and Comprehensible, which I always really love. I don't know why everyone does it on Facebook. Everyone loves Facebook. I don't know. They have their Facebook sites that are particular to the year that, or whatever Practical and Comprehensible conference they've got going on. I'll be there too, talking to fine people like you, getting more ideas for my own classrooms, bouncing ideas off of you. Yeah, come connect with me there. I'm also at studio-nemo.com. So the impetus for this video comes from a question that we got in the World Language Teachers Lounge, and Jared asked me to address it. A teacher asked, "I believe in standards-based grading, but my school district doesn't. I want to know how to implement standards-based grading in my teaching and instruction while still being able to convert it to the school's traditional grading system." I'm sorry, you can read that. I shouldn't have read that to you. So first of all, before we can talk about this, we need to understand what exactly standards-based grading is. So here in the United States of America, we have either national standards or state standards sometimes, depending on the subject, okay? And those standards basically say, hey, this is what we think every student should be able to achieve at whatever level they're at. So third graders should be able to learn about, here in Washington State, fourth graders learn about the Oregon Trail. Let's put that in there. It's just like what grade or what level are the students at and what they should be learning. So here's some examples, okay? Here's from my health class. These are my health standards. Students will comprehend concepts related to health promotion and disease prevention to enhance health, blah, 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 okay? For English language arts, Cite strong and thorough textual evidence to support analysis of what the text says explicitly, as well as inferences drawn from the text, etc., etc. Now, these are the standards, and how we teach the students to access these standards can change. Okay, for example, my English language arts class, I'm one of 3 junior English teachers, junior, the 11th grade. Okay, and we've decided as a department, okay, for this, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at conformity, nonconformity, art reflecting culture, raisin in the sun. We've got lit circles where the students can choose their own books, and we've got The Great Gatsby. Okay, so we decided these are not the standards. There is no standard in the world that says all 11th graders have to read The Great Gatsby. That's not a standard. This is the standard. This is how we decided to frame the standard. All right, now, for world language, it's very complicated because a lot of states do not have standards yet. Now, I am on the state committee for deciding the Washington state standards for world languages, and that is super exciting. I love that work. But since we don't have those standards now, what we do is we look to the ACTFL. These are not standards, and I'm going to keep coming back to this because I have a lot of discussions with my administration where they think these are the standards, and I'm like, these are not standards. These are descriptors. This tells you what you can do with the language when you're at this level. What can you do with the language when you're at this level? Okay, so we're going to talk about that more in depth in a few minutes. But this is going to be a long video. I'm going to try and break it into several videos. In the traditional classroom, the student comes in, learns a little, takes a summative test, learns a little more. This works great in science, okay? The student comes in, learns about plate tectonics. Great. And then they learn about it, and then they take their summative test. And then the next day they come in and they're done with plate tectonics. They're on to evolutionary theory. Okay. So then they learn about that. In my English literature class, okay, we read The Crucible. All right. We read The Crucible. We read The Crucible. We read The Crucible. We're doing stuff with The Crucible. I've got all my games that I play with The Crucible. And then we're done reading The Crucible. I'm never going to bring up The Crucible ever again. Right? We're done with it. I mean, I'll keep calling back to it. I'll say, hey, you remember when we were talking about McCarthyism and the Red Scare and blah, blah, blah. But I'm never going to test them on it again. Okay, so that's like the traditional way of teaching. But there are a lot of classes which we call progressive skills. There's a lot of things to learn where each step has to build on the step before. Music is one of those, all right? You can't just pick up the guitar and play classical gas, okay? You got to build up to it. You got to learn the chords. You got to learn the notes. Sports, athletics. Nobody's going to pick up the basketball and immediately be able to make 3-point shots. It takes practice. You have to learn where to put your hands on the basketball when you throw it. Are you going to do it granny style between your legs? Are you going to put it up and have your hands in this kind of 9 and 3 position? You've got to practice that. And of course, language. Language is a progressive skill. And we're going to talk more about all the brain science. So let me give you an example. Let's say your first test is, you're in music class. Your first test is, can you play Mary Had a Little Lamb? For whatever reason, the student bombs the first test. Who knows why? Maybe they've never heard the song before. Maybe they're not from an English-speaking country where they hear Mary Had a Little Lamb. Maybe, the young whippersnappers these days, they don't appreciate the stuff that I grew up with. I try to make a Bugs Bunny joke and they look at me blankly. That's just times change, people change, interest rates fluctuate. Maybe they haven't heard the song before. They had more to learn than their classmates did. Maybe their math isn't very good, and they counted the song in 3/4 time instead of in 4/4 time. They don't know how to read a key signature. They don't know how to read a time signature. Maybe they just haven't learned good study habits yet. You got to learn to sit down at the piano and practice for a half an hour a day. And maybe they just haven't learned that yet. Maybe they don't have a good place to study. But for whatever the reason, They bombed the first test. Okay, now the second test comes along. The student has learned how to study. The student has learned math. They know how to count now. They understand what a time signature means. They ace the second test. In the traditional classroom, the student, who is now on a trajectory to success, the student knows what they're doing now. They have a C average. They have a C for a grade in the class. Because here's that first grade. Here's that second grade up here. They get the average. Okay? This is a grade book. This is my grade book. This C minus, it doesn't really tell you how the student is doing at this moment in time. Okay? So the question is, how can we show in our grade book that the student is growing and improving? Are they meeting the standards? The grade book is only going to give you an average. All right, I'm at 11 minutes. I'm going to pause here and we're going to continue this discussion on the next episode. Hope to see you there.